Hi guys, this is Panchal, your tutor, your trainer, your coach for C programming. Let us understand few details about C programming or the C programming masterclass as we call it. So let us understand some historical facts about C. When you talk about C language, what exactly is C? It's a general purpose programming language. What do you mean by general purpose programming language? Simple. A language it can be used anywhere and for anything, right from saying a normal school level program to say hello world to the fact about industrial level program where you can control various hardware, various devices through C. Yes, there is a version of C called embedded C which is used even today in VLSI and embedded. In fact, the version is called embedded C where we use it in embedded system. So it's a general purpose. It can be used in anywhere. So what is a way we are going to code C? C can be coded in something which we call as procedure oriented. That means we have a standard set of procedure which gets us input, a process, and then it gets converted to output. We'll be talking in detail throughout where we work with C. C is considered to be imperative coding. Imperative coding talks about certain blocks to be used in order to create some new software. So we'll be doing all this in detail as we go with the program. Don't worry. Let us get some historical fact when it was created. Well, it started in 72, but it late 1978 we got the final version of C. Who created it? Dennis created this kind of operating system. Sir, it's a programming language, not an operating system. Okay, let me correct it. At Bell Labs, we use C for creating Unix operating system, which is a very popular operating system. Unix become Linux, and currently we talk about Ubuntu, Eudora, and so many other things. Well, the core is built in C. So remember that you are trying to learn something which is capable of creating operating system. So that's something big, right? Okay, let us move ahead. Now, when you talk about C, it is very widely used language. There has to be certain reasons why. We'll be doing in detail, don't worry. So let's go first. Let's go further. Let us understand what are the various versions. So do you mean to say there are different versions of C? Like aging, this came at a different years, so they created different version. Each version was better than before. There are certain standardization which we use. Let us understand. The first ever version, KNRC, named after two inventors of C programming. This came in 78. Afterwards, an UNCC, this version of C became a worldwide popular and a certain landmark in C programming. Most of the other versions of C were derived from this, trying to improve or more standardize this particular thing. As the 18 hand suggests, it came in 1989 in picture. After this, C became a standard programming language. Books were written. People started learning it, following it. It made a big deal. Going further, then in 1990, we started with ISO-C, which was made from International Standard Organization. The base for this was still ANSI to work into. As we went further, we had in 1999 something which we call as C99 because it was a standardized version, more improved version of ANSI, but the base was ANSI itself. And then late in 2011, C11 came into existence. That is 2011. Again, another improvement done by ISO to get us the more standardized version. The beauty of this is as we go from top to bottom, every version which we talk about is capable of running. That means some program written in the first KNRC will still be able to run in C11. So that has the glory or the legacy continues, as we say. So now understanding C history, which one are we going to target? As I said, ANSI C being the most popular, we'll be talking about that and a standard because that has been followed by all others in the system. So let us understand what and why C became popular and why it is called as mother of all programming language. Here goes. So let's understand features of C. The first feature itself is going to be very simple, procedure oriented. So we have a standard set of flowcharts and algorithm. Sir, what do you mean by this two term? Terms which allows you to understand certain steps and which you need to follow. So that's a procedure oriented language. Apart from that, C is considered to be fast and efficient because the way it uses hardware and the way it produces output, it is much faster, especially other languages in 1978 and 72. C was considered to be fastest at that time. So we need to respect that. So then you talk about it is modularity. That means you can write small functions and when needed you will call them. That means you will write a program, keep it on a side by, whenever needed you will be calling them, and then you can use them directly. So that's a good part. Apart from that, C is considered which is statically and statically type as we call it. So what do you mean? Syntax semantics, that means the curly braces, parentheses, everything needs to be followed in a proper order. This gives you not only the better presentation, more readability, and along with this too, obvious better understanding of the code itself. So the flow is very clear in this. C is considered to be general purpose, as we already spoken, it can be used anywhere where you talk about. C is considered to be rich in terms of operators. That means it has 8 categories of operator and more than 28 different type of operators. So it's a huge thing. In fact, there are 3 series of lectures which go only to learn operators because we have that much of a rich operator set, which we'll be doing in detail, don't worry. Then we talk about library set. There are so many functions like finding a square root, for trigonometry, for logarithm. So no matter where you want to use, I have a ready-made function in C. You just call that function will do your job. Good, right? Okay. Then we talk about it is multi-level or middle level programming language. Sir, middle level means what? I cannot call it a high level because C++ is considered to be high level. Java and Pythons are considered a high level languages. Reason, they have a concept of object oriented programming. C does not have object oriented programming. C++ has it. In fact, that's the reason we shifted from C to C++. But it's a mid-level programming language. That means English like words can be used, procedures can be followed, and you still get the output whatever you want to. So that's exactly why it is called as middle level. Along with that, it is something which we call as portable. What do you mean by portable? It's a concept where we say code written on one machine would definitely run on another machine, and that's exactly what we are trying to do. So you nearly need to respect. Reason, I write some code on my machine, I give it to you, I can guarantee it will run on your machine no matter the config are different. I may be using Mac, you might be using Windows, somebody else might be using Ubuntu. It still works even if the hardware and the software are different. If C is there, it will run. Along with this, it is easy to extend. That means we can take a C code and run it over internet. CGI. No, that's basically a common gateway interface or C gateway interface, which allows me to run various services using C programming on HTML. Along with that, you can take C codes, EXEs, and patch it up to different systems, and they still run. So it's basically extending. That means taking a programming, putting it somewhere else, and you can work. Or reverse, other programs can be operated via C also. So that becomes more important thing. So after understanding this feature, we are obviously sure that yes, C is capable of doing wonders. So let us go towards the course and understand what course is about. Okay. In a course, in the first thing, we'll be talking about introduction to C, where we'll be talking about all necessary and important stuff, the basic core concept. What do you mean by keyword, data type, input, output, what are the operators? And with each topic, we'll be taking special example series where we'll be taking papers, we'll be taking important questions, we'll be taking questions with reference to industry as a examples I'll be going through. So that's first thing. Once we understood what are the building blocks of C, the second thing we'll be learning is the procedure. That means the conditional statements, the if, the loop, the for loop, the switch case. This makes programming because no programming is straight, right? You have certain conditions, you have certain loops, you have to repeat certain stuff. We'll be doing with this. Once this is done, we'll be done talking about the bigger topics like array. Array, collection of similar data types. I can create array of 10 numbers. I can create array of 100 numbers. So we have a 1D array, 2D array. We'll be talking in detail of it. 2D array is known for matrix multiplication, matrix manipulation. So yes, that's 2D and 1D coming into. A variation of array called a string, that is a character array. In this, we'll be learning in detail to understand what exactly functions are, how to use string, what are the common thing, and with each, we'll be also doing programs in detail because there are a lot many questions which comes on string programming. You should be ready with. Okay. Along with strings coming into picture, we'll be talking about user-defined data type called structure and union, basically which allows a programmer to create own data type. Sir, own, that is a point extended come into picture. You can extend C's code data type and create. Suppose you talk about student. A student will have a roll number, which is a number. Student would have name. Then it is a character sequence. A student would have maybe a pin code, which is a series of numbers and alphabets and other things. That's exactly, you can do all this thing with a structure and union coming into picture. Along with this, we'll be then doing something which we call as pointers, a special mechanism which ended with C programming. That means C was the last language to have a pointer, a special mechanism via which we can refer anything without actually storing them, we will be only referring them through address. Yani ki you will be accessing something. No, I won't say I am using my memory. I'm referring to my memory, and that memory has some data. So that's a kind of thing. This is very interesting, and to a lot of students, this is fascinating thing to understand. Is it that way we can? And that is the reason pointers were stopped, because if you directly access somebody's memory, hacking can be done. So we stopped after C. C was the last language to have pointers. Along with that, we'll be then talking about functions. Very vital and important. This helps in modular programming. You create small functions and keep it ready as needed. You will be calling them, and then the appropriate function gets activated, performs the job, and goes back. So that's a modular coding. Along with this, coming into, we'll be talking about C files, how to create, write files, read files, manipulate files. Interesting chapter, especially if you want permanent storage. Because unlike other things in C, like variables and other things, the moment you turn off the power, data is gone. Files are the only thing which will keep the data. So that makes it more important. Don't forget. Along with this, once this is entirely done, we'll be taking some additional topics. Yes, there is an additional topic. What are we talking about? See, enumeration, pre-processes, that is hash directives, lot of pre-processes I'll be taking. Standard libraries, what are the libraries for time, date, currency, etc. We'll be talking about all this in detail. Then I'll be taking a series of programs. In fact, there are more than 50 programs which we'll be taking, which is either important with reference to paper, either important with reference to industry interview, either with important with reference to understanding C. So this is the entire course which we'll be doing. Hope you all join us soon. The details are as given on the screen, also available in the description link of this video. You can WhatsApp or call us to join.